Okay. Hi, everyone. All right. So the team and I have decided to do a couple things differently. We're experimenting with different ways of reaching out to you. And today we're going to be doing a special lab or a special mini, we'll call it a mini lab, a mini masterclass on the 7 stages of resilience. So for those of you that signed up to come, I'm super excited to have you here. I actually, just so you know, cannot see who is here. So my team is monitoring the chat box. They're monitoring the comments and everything. So they've got a way to communicate with me. But just so you know, if you're here, I'm sending you a ton of love. I'm super happy you're here. Oh, I can see you. Hi, Dr. Pressman. Oh my gosh. Okay, good. Never mind. I can see that you're here if you make a comment in the chat. So go ahead and say hi in the comments so I know you're here. This is the first time we're doing a session like this in this way on LinkedIn. It's also going to go over to YouTube afterwards, and the recording will get saved. So here's the scoop. We're going to, perfect. All right. And now I'm going to start ignoring it. Okay. So here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about the 7 stages of resiliency today. These stages are from the IEP methodology. They actually got created during the pandemic when, for many of you that know me, you may know that I wrote a book calling people contagious you, literally 2 months before contagious COVID came out. And, that was a big deal. That had a big impact on like our business, the work, the books. I had a lot of things that went on for me personally during that period of time, just like all of us did. And basically, I personally was really having a hard time. My team at the time was having a hard time too. So we really started to look at how are we navigating? What are the questions we're asking ourselves as we're moving through this period of time in this really, really hard moment? What are the questions we're asking ourselves? We started to distill them down to these 7 stages. Then what happened over the last couple of years is working with different clients when they would go through reorganizations or divorces or major traumatic events, or even really great events. What we found was that they were in these steps of resiliency, these different stages. So a lot of the people that are on here right now, I know many of you, I'm super happy you're here. We've got a lot of people on the live stream that have just recently gone through reorganizations and layoffs in their organization. We have a lot of people we care about very, very much that we've had the pleasure of working with. We have a lot of people on here that are moving into new roles in different companies. I know we've got some people on here that are going through major, significant personal shifts. And so Team Anese and I decided a couple of weeks ago to really start to double down on putting some extra tools and resources out on LinkedIn and YouTube just to support all of you. So even if you're not in our programs currently, even if we don't know you, our intention is that this content serves you in a way that is most helpful. So with this 7 stages of resiliency, I want to be really clear. This is only going to be about a half an hour, and I'm going to address each of these at a very high level. So I'm going to give you the stages, and I'm going to give you a couple of questions, just inquiries you can be thinking about to help you navigate through whatever you're going through right now. On August 3rd, if you are involved in the Positive Energy Workplace community, we're going to actually be doing a deep dive learning lab. It'll be a 2-hour learning lab. We're going to workshop and go deeper into this content. So please know that this is not, I'm not a therapist. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm offering you some frameworks and some inquiries to really help you move through whatever you're moving through. Okay. All right. So let's get going. So here's resiliency. This is the definition of resiliency that I have come to really stand in the work that we've been doing over the last couple of years. And the way that we hold resiliency is it's our ability to navigate, recover, learn from, and use experiences that happen in our lives while staying present to and in right relationship with ourselves. And to me, this last bit is the most important part, while staying present to and in right relationship with ourselves. An essential component in building resiliency, I found, is that the kinder we are ourselves to ourselves in the process, and the more we tend to our IEP, which is intentions, energy, and presence, the greater our resilience, growth, and impact. And also, by the way, the faster our recovery. So whatever you're going through right now, whether it's awesome or it's really, really hard, you want to make sure that you're staying present with yourself, continuing to be your own very, very best friend and being really, really nice to yourself in the process. If you've been using the IEP work, right now is a great time to really be doubling down on the IEP sheet, your IEP practices, anything that you've learned in the Positive Energy Workplace Initiative programming. Remember, all of that, the most important thing we always talk about is the relationship we have with ourselves, and really continue to come back to presence and be honest with where we're at. So with that being said, I want to go through the 7 stages that we've distilled this down to. And let me blow this up again. Here you go. All right. And I see you all here. Oh, good. Hi, Jimmy. Hi, everyone. All right. So here's the 7 stages. I'm going to break these down as we move forward. But first, there is the actual event that happened. This can be good or bad. This could actually be something really, really great and something that you're very, very excited about. This could also be something really, really difficult. So first is the event. The next stage is really allowing yourself the authentic experience. The next stage is really allowing yourself to assess what's happened, kind of accurate reporting, pulling the emotion out of it. We'll talk about that in a moment. Stage 4 is healing. Stage 5 is learning and reframing. Stage 6 is becoming and serving. And stage 7 is freedom and next step. So these are just where we look, generally speaking. These stages are super, super dynamic. In fact, resiliency is incredibly dynamic. Most people tend to think that resiliency, the journey looks like this. When we work with our clients, they think that it's, we have the event, then we have the authentic experience, and we do the assessment, we do learning, and then we're done with it, basically. And what we've found, what our coaches are finding is that actually resiliency looks like this. So as we're going through these stages, allow yourself to look at, you might be in authentic experience in one area and also reframing in another area. You might be going back to the event. You might be all over the place. And if you're finding that you're all over the place, it's perfectly fine. Be nice to yourself, stay present with yourself, and just know that this is not a linear experience. It is very, very, very much dynamic, and it's often all over the place. In fact, if you are relating to that, please give me a little note here. Oh, good. Dr. Bressman, I'm so happy to hear you saying that. I agree. The most important conversation is the kind and loving conversation you have with yourself each day. That is so you, Dr. Maynard. I remember Dr. Bressman. All right, let's keep going. So here we go. So where are you at? Where are you at in your 7 stages? Just as I went through those, probably one of them kind of stood out for you. Just notice where you're at. I'm going to put it back up here again so you can look at this. Generally speaking, with whatever you're going through right now, and I know a lot of you had things happen just last week, so things are still probably very, very raw and new. So just notice where you think you're at with this. Also, please leave room for knowing that you may have several things going on. I know for me, when the pandemic hit, I had several different departments of stuff happening all at once. And so I noticed that I moved through these different stages in different ways. So just notice. All right, so let's look at the first one. So the first stage is the event. If you're going through something right now, what we want to do is we want to look at what these questions. So you want to give yourself permission to look at these questions, and we will post this afterwards. So don't worry about, memorizing all this. You're welcome to screenshot this if it's helpful, but really looking at what's actually happened. What's actually happened? What is my current experience? What is my authentic emotion around what's happening? Like how am I really feeling? And everything, the sky's the limit on authentic emotion. Anything that you're feeling, we want to really make sure that you're honoring it. And then what support do I need? What support do I need to help me move through this? And this might look like your best friend. It might look like your partner. This might look like a therapist. This might look like your coach. This might look like journal. This might look like praying. Whatever it is for you, you really want to just get clear and stay connected to yourself of what support do I need right now? I know somebody reached out to me last week and they said that the support that they needed was they needed to get out of town and go into the mountains and not think for a couple of days to kind of like just catch their breath around what they had just gone through. So what support do I need right now? And then, of course, all of these are going to end with, breathing, just catching your breath, getting really, really present. This is a really good place throughout this resiliency model. a very useful tool for those of you that know the IEP work is the bubble. If you remember the bubble exercise, let me just put this up for you really quick. But really, really, really using that bubble and remembering you've got your own space and that the whole world is coming at you. But in any moment, you can bubble up to just get connected to yourself and to decide how you want to be interacting with whatever's happening around you. So, all right, so there's your event. This next stage is authentic experience. So authentic experience, authentic emotion. This is once you've kind of gone through identifying the event, you're like, wow, this is what just happened. Holy smokes. Now you're going to move into asking yourself these questions. And I want to be really clear that these are not all inclusive questions. This is not a full list. There's a lot more you could be doing here, but these are some of the questions that we have found have been really, really, really helpful for a lot of the people that we work with. So I'm just capturing them here in the actual learning lab that we do on August 3rd. And also in the learning series we got starting next week, we'll be going deeper into some of these. But for right now, whatever's happening, just go ahead and look at this now. That first question, where am I now and now and now? This is just to honor the fact that you may be all over the place in 10 minutes. You might go through 20 different emotions in your 10 minutes, and you just want to allow total space for that. The second piece, what am I mourning? So what are you actually mourning? What are you grieving? Third question is, what might you be celebrating? Even when some of the hardest stuff happens, there can still be some relief in it. There can still be that feeling of, let's just say you were worried something was going to happen and you've been worrying that something's going to happen, and you worry and you worry and you worry and you're worrying about it for a year or longer. And then the thing happens and you're still alive and you survive and you're okay. And now the things happen. So your anxiety about what you were afraid of was going to happen is now relieved. That in my book is something to actually celebrate and really acknowledge. What meaning might I be assigning to this? This is a really important one. A lot of times, especially with layoffs or relationship breakups or, oh my gosh, anything really, a lot of times the meaning that we assign to what happened is actually more painful than the event that actually happened. So for example, I might make somebody else's decision to make a change in the company or a relationship or whatever. I might make that mean that I'm not good enough. I didn't do a good enough job. I'm not important. Like whatever that might be. So I really want to check, what meaning am I assigning to this? Because the meaning I'm assigning to it is probably likely not right. It probably had nothing to do with you, and it's probably a very big decision that was made, for other reasons. So you want to just look at what meaning are you assigning to this. And if you must assign meaning, make sure that you're assigning meaning that will be helpful for you. So just be paying attention to what are you making up about what happened and how that's impacting your experience. And then, of course, what support do I need? And breathe. We're going to keep coming back to that and back to that and back to that. So let's see here. Let me pull off of here for a second, just kind of check in. I'm just looking at the chat box. Great. Thank you, Laura and Jenny. Oh, good. Good. Okay. So let's now move to the third stage, which is assessment. And I've put all the stages behind me here, which I know you can kind of see, but all these stages are behind me in case you're needing to go back and think about them as I talk. But this third stage is assessment. So now you've gone through, you've had the event, you're having your authentic experience. Remember, you could be, coming in and out of these different stages. The third stage we want to go to is we want to look at assessment. And in assessment, these are the questions we're looking at. So assessment for real. And I like to think of this as accurate reporting, which is just actually what happened. I take the emotion out of it. I take the stories out of it. I take the assumptions out of it. I just want to look at, what have I lost? What have I gained? What resources, internal or external, can I tap into to support me in this moment? And I'm going to come back to this one because this is one of my favorite questions. And then what is most important right now? What's most important right now moving forward? And then, of course, you breathe. Now, let's talk about the resources, internal and external. This means internal resources are the things that we have within ourselves. These are usually our characteristics, our level of internal self-trust, my grittiness, self-kindness, my tenacity, like internal resources. Curiosity is an internal resource. If you're listening to this and you are thinking of other internal resources that you have that you can count on yourself for, I'd love to see you put it in the comments. But an internal resource is something that you have control over. It's something that if you look at past experiences that were really, really hard for you, everyone on here, everyone listening to this has had tough stuff happen in their life, because it's life. We're all human beings living this crazy life. And so if you look back at some of your most difficult challenges in your lifetime, I guarantee you that there are internal resources that you used to help you move through that period of time, that you are now here and you're even bigger and better for it. So other internal resources might be your ability to ask for help, your ability to be present with yourself, your ability to not quit. You know, maybe you've got a really good internal resource of like, this is a bummer and I'm in a lot of pain right now. However, I am super, super committed to continuing to figure out the next solution. So you just really want to lean into yourself on your internal resources, because this is something that you have total control over. Nobody can take that away from you, and you get to tap into it and choose it. External resources are things like people in your lives, your network, again, therapists, coaches, friends. These are things outside of yourself that you can really start to tap into to support you through this moment. An external and an internal resource that I often really like to tap into when things are going like really, really hard is I like to tap into the internal and external resource of exercise, making sure that my food is really, really clean, especially if I'm really in the dumps, because you know, the internal resource there is going to be the internal resource of self-love and self-care. External resource is what I'm actually choosing to put into my body. So really, really play with this one. There's no right or wrong answers on any of this. How you interpret these questions is probably perfect. You just want to give yourself the space to think about these. All right, so let's look at the next one. The next one, if we go to this fourth stage, once you've gone through, you've had the event, your authentic experience, you've done some assessment, you're now really making sure you're getting the support that you want to have and that you need. You're tapping your internal and external resources. This next step is going to be to go into healing. And healing, this is where, in my experience, the healing really starts to, it's more able to start to take place in an authentic way versus in a spiritual bypass kind of way. And I think anybody listeners, you probably know spiritual bypass, which is something happens and you go, okay, I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to get through this. And you don't actually do the inner work and the harder work to actually process through what just happened, so you can take that with you and have it serve you for the rest of your life. So you want to really make sure that you address this next stage, which is around healing. And here's what I like to look at with the healing phase. Am I being present to myself right now? Am I really being present? So this is where the spiritual bypass comes in. I know personally, and I know we see it with our clients, you know, it's so easy and tempting to have something happen and just go, okay, got to keep going. Let's keep going. And there's a lot of great stuff in that, because we do need to keep going. And we can also really kind of leave ourselves behind if we're not being really present to what's happening. So we make sure we're being taken care of. Am I getting the support I need? We're going to have you keep checking in on this throughout. How am I taking care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever that means for you? What do I need now? What do I need now? And then, of course, breathe. I did a recording last week. I did a couple of recordings around resiliency. And first of all, thank you to those of you that sent notes in about that and asked for more, because that's actually a huge part of why we're doing this today. But when I was looking at this fourth stage, I remember, and I know now, like a lot of times, if we can get people just to get still and ask what they need now, a lot of times their body will ask them for what they need. So I'm seeing notes in the comments about yoga. Oh my gosh, Maynard, I'm so happy you're still in Northern California. Yoga, food. I know for me personally, if I'm going through something hard, I want spinach with a ton of olive oil and some garlic. So, those are kind of funny examples, but you really want to give yourself permission. Like, what do I need now? And then honor it. The more you honor the question and the more you tend to yourself and what you need now, the more you will build the self-trust internally and those internal resources to help you move through this period of time. All right. So let's go back up to this next one and let's look at stage number 5. So now you're moving along And now we're going to move into learning and reframing. So I just want to take a pause for a moment. This is stage 5, learning and reframing, step 5, level 5, whatever you want to call it. And I want to just take a moment. I want to give everyone that's watching this a moment just to take a breath. I'm going to be quiet for a minute, bubble up, reboot, do whatever. And just think about how this content is landing for you and with whatever you're going through right now. You know, some of you, I mentioned earlier, some of you are going through layoffs and ends of relationships. Some of you are going into new jobs and you're really excited about it. Hi, Todd Lewis. Great. Oh, awesome. Spiritual bypass can be so ingrained into our psyche as children, ironically, especially. Yep. Beautiful. So true. So just take a moment. I'm just going to sit with you for a second, drink my coffee, and just notice where you're at. Okay. So let's look at learning and reframing. Once we've gotten through, or we've, you know, and when I say through, I say that knowing that it may be very all over the place, but you will know, in my experience, our bodies will let us know, our hearts will let us know, like, okay, I'm actually pretty rooted in the healing level right now. Okay, actually, I am truly authentically ready to get into learning and reframing. And when I get into learning and reframing, I think this, for me personally, is one of my favorites, because now I kind of see like I'm over the hill of some of the pain. I might have some residual, but now I can actually start to get into more proactive and productive action. And the other thing is I get to take whatever wisdom I got from this thing that just happened. I get to take this with me, and it's going to make me a better leader, a better human, more empathetic, all the good stuff. So in stage 5, here are some of the questions I love to offer, which is 1, what have I learned from this? What have I learned from this? Because I promise you the learning is huge. Okay. 2, what might the gifts be? Okay. Okay. What might the gifts be? What can I be grateful for? This is a really big one. Okay. Really, really big one. If you can find gratitude, this is going to be something else. You know, gratitude is kind of, it's a quick instant state shifter, but it also, the more grateful we can be authentically about whatever's happening, the more that our energetic field will start to open up and expand. And the more the stronger, in my opinion, and what we see all the time, the stronger our energetic states become. So what might the gifts be of what just happened? What can I be grateful for? You know, what am I a stand for now? How might my stand have changed? You know, what do I feel is most important? I know our team went through something a couple months ago that was really, it was tricky. And we kind of had to go through these 7 stages ourselves. And I'll tell you, what came out on the other side was this quadruple devotion to how important it is to create positive energy workplaces in the world, like how important it is to create authentic positive energy, how important the IEP work is for people. Our stand got stronger. So something that happened, which could have knocked us off our game, actually made us just get stronger. But it only happened because we stayed present to ourselves and we really worked through our own IEP to figure out, okay, what is next for us? So 4th question is, what new criteria or agreements might I have with myself or others? Bet you whatever's just happened, you've come up with some new best practices, boundaries, learnings, agreements with yourself that are going to support you moving forward. And then, of course, what new skills, awareness, characteristics, leadership capabilities, grit, grace, or wisdom do I have now that I did not have before? I promise you, take the time with this slide, screenshot this slide for sure. Take the time with that last question to figure out, like, to really acknowledge what has shifted for you that you have now that you did not have before as a result of the thing you just went through. And then, of course, you can't see because my name is covering it up, but you're going to breathe. You're going to breathe. You're just going to keep breathing, keep breathing, keep breathing. All right. So once we've got learning and reframing, we're almost done. We've got becoming and serving. Becoming and serving is another really fun next place to look, because you want to look at, who do you want to become now? Like, who do you want to become after having gone through what you're going through? Who do you want to become now? What kind of a leader do you want to be? What kind of energy do you want to carry? What kind of future do you want to live into? And then service, you know, the antidote to nervous, or the antidote to contraction, in my mind, is always service. Like, how can you now be of service? So we want to look at becoming and serving. And when we look at these, here are some of your core questions. that may support you. Who have I become in this? How have I shown up? How have you shown up for yourself, for others? Part of resiliency is in the way that we treat ourselves, but it's also in the way that we treat others, how we show up with others, how we stay present with others, even when we're having a really hard time. I know personally, one of the hacks that I'll find if I'm having a really hard time is I'll get into service mode. Like, I'll literally call someone and go, how can I help you right now? I might be having a really hard day, but if I can get into service and be a contribution, that can help create an energetic shift in me where I can then look and go, okay, what's actually here and how do I want to move forward with it? So really look at, who have you become? How have you shown up? Where have you surprised yourself? What meaning would you like to assign to this now? And it's very interesting in stage 6 to kind of look at the meaning you were assigning at the very beginning. I think it was stage 2, and looking at what you want to assign to this now. In the future, how will I use this experience to grow and to serve others? And then, of course, breathe. All right. And then now we're at freedom and next. And freedom and next is where we get to do our final reflection. And the final reflection I'm going to offer you is this. So once you get to that final stage, you want to look at, where am I now? What do I need? Who have I become? Again, where have you surprised yourself? What's the greatest thing you learned? This one, what can you acknowledge yourself for, is huge. Who do you want to become? And how will you make it all count? So this right now, to me, this reflect and extract, I put it purposely at the very end after freedom and next, because freedom and next, basically, we could leave you right here and you could just move forward. And now, next chapter, yay. But I want to double down on making sure that you do a little bit extra reflection. And honestly, you could apply this at any stage in a way that's going to support what you're doing throughout your process. All right. So those are your 7 stages, very, very light. If you're joining us for the Learning Lab on August 3rd, we will be workshopping these more, we'll go into more of the nuance. August 3rd, if you're part of the Positive Energy Workplace community and you're in that program, you're going to have instant access to that. If you're not part of the Positive Energy Workplace Initiative and you want to join us for the essentials training that's starting next week, or you do want to join the Positive Energy Workplace Initiative, reach out to us. My team is putting stuff in the chat so you can learn more information about all of it. Let me just look at the comments. Oh, hi, Priscilla. Good. Step 5, super, super important. I'm so happy. I just want to make sure I'm seeing all of you. Okay, great. So those of you that know me, I don't like to get off a session without looking at what your next steps are. So whatever resonated from you, and you might be listening to this right now and you might be like, I'm not ready for this. That's totally cool. Come back and watch it later. But wherever you're at, what are your next 3 steps just from this content? We're spending 30 minutes together. What next 3 steps are going to support you most as you move forward? What are your next 3 steps? If you feel like writing things in the comments, we always love to see, but you don't have to, of course. And then the other thing I just want to offer you is that this is really big and important work and should not be done alone. Like, friends do not let friends do resiliency work by themselves. So you want to make sure that you have a buddy. If you were in the PUE community, or if you are in the PUE community, make sure you're working with your buddy around this. For those of you that there's the when a company goes through layoffs, when they go through the reorganizations, there is the pain for the people who leave the company and who experience the layoffs. It's very big pain for people that do that. There's also the pain and the sadness for the people that stay. So as you're watching this, whatever your situation, if you are staying with the company, if you've left the company, all of this still applies to you. You're still going through resiliency. You're still going through significant change. So you want to make sure that you are working with a buddy, you're working with a therapist, with a coach. If you want to be involved in the IEP programming, if you want help from ACI, we are totally here. Just reach out to us. The information I mentioned above, I see my team putting things in, but there's 3 ways that you can get additional support if you want it. The IEP Essentials Learning Series starts next week on Tuesday. We're going to do 2 special sessions this month. One is on holding your space and really shifting the energy in the room when you've got either in a room, in a meeting, or even in a conversation with another person when you're just noticing that there's a lot of heavy energy or there's some toxicity, how do you hold your space, not get sucked into it, and actually even shift it so it gets more productive? So we're going to be doing the lab on that on Tuesday next week. And then later this month, we're going to be doing a lab on self-leadership and accountability. How do you inspire accountability, not hold it? Because good leadership is not about holding accountability. Good leadership is about inspiring and modeling accountability and showing up in a way that is so present that automatically people want to be with you because that's the way that you're showing up, and so you inspire it. So we're going to be talking about that. You can register for that session, that series, at the links that the team has provided. The additional thing that we're going to give you if you're doing that learning series is you will get access to Introduction to IEP, which is our core IEP training that happens in under 2 hours. And that's something that we no longer offer publicly. It's not available publicly. You actually have to be in one of our organizational programs to access it, or a member of the PUE community. But for this, we're answering the call that we've been asked from a lot of people to really give some tools quickly, easily, where you don't have to be involved in big organizational programs. So that's the first bullet you see there. The Reset and Resilience Deep Dive Learning Lab, I mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing that on the PUE workplace. If you are a member of the organization that just went through layoffs and your organization was a part of the PUE program, if you're a member that was just laid off and you were active on the platform, so you already signed up and you were doing work in the platform, you're going to want to look in your email box for a note from our team giving you access to some stuff that will support you right now. We're really, we're very committed to making sure that all of you that were such great partners and so involved in this work, that you guys continue to have some support to support you through this next chapter. So please check your email. If you didn't get something from us and you're an active member in the community, reach out to Community Active Choices. And then finally, if none of the above are what work for you, and that's not something you're interested in, and you want to talk to us, feel free to reach out. You can DM me, you can do our contact page, you can reach out to info@activechoices.com, but we will be happy to have a conversation with you about what's happening in your organization, what's happening with your team. What do you need? What is your level of interest in actually becoming a positive energy workplace, in doing either triage work because your company's just gone through something really, really hard, or in doing optimization work? So there's a lot of different ways that we, actually, there's not a lot. There's about 3 different ways that we work with companies now that are very, very specific. So if you're interested in talking, then go ahead. We'll reach out. We'll have a conversation and see if there's something that we can plug you into that would be helpful or really bespoke for your particular situation. Okay. So that's that for now. I'm going to put this up here. Of course, all of you know, you've got access to Contagious Culture and Contagious You, where I talk a lot about the IEP work and holding your state. So there is no lack of tools and resources to support you as you navigate these chapters. We'll continue to put more content out on LinkedIn and YouTube. If you like this, here's my one request. If you like it, please share it, like it, comment, do all the things so that we can work with the algorithms that I'm learning more and more about, which are just really interesting. So just do all the things so that we can get access to more people with this content, because we know that a lot of companies are going through similar things right now. So okay, lots of love to everybody. Thank you for being here. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Okay, bye-bye.